Hey everybody, this is going to be the video for Saturday, December 3rd, 2022. I'm going to talk a little bit about Gann's 20-year cycle. In Gann's 20-year cycle, he had said that the 20-year cycle was his most important cycle. But what is that 20-year cycle? Well, if you go looking back 20 years in increments of 20s, it's not going to work out too good. What he's doing, he's talking in a little bit of a roundabout way, as he normally is, but you have to look at what's happening around a 20-year period. So it's going to be something approximating 20 years, or it's going to be, uh, he may talk about it being repetitions of something that may take 20 years, or it may be 20 repetitions. He's talking about uh, what could be one of three or four different things. Anyhow, this is a chart of cotton. You see this vertical line I have marked here is one bar off the low. That's actually the 20-year cycle. And the reason that is one bar off is because the bar right before that was a master time factor low, an exact hit. So that's why we got these two cycles came together so close, but the 20-year couldn't take out the master time factor low, but they're both within a one bar tolerance of a low. When you're looking at these longer cycles, you have to give them some orb. You're talking about very long cycles. A lot of times they will come in exactly to the day, but they could be 10, 20, 30 days off. But that's what's going to happen when you're looking at these longer cycles. So what you have to do is use the smaller cycles to nail down exact dates on your daily chart. So I've put a couple of other lines on here. We do have some cycle confirmation for that November bar that just completed a couple days ago. The first 2 days of December have traded inside that bar. And what we're going to look at is see how the pattern looks when I go back to check that. And in both cases of both of these measurements, the 20-year and the master time factor, I have a projection out into April on the next line. But what's happening here in this particular case, there is up and down motion between these bars on both cycles. So it's going to make that a little bit hard to pinpoint. We may have a high in November. We may get a low December, January, trade up again into April, or trade up to March, and then have a run down into April for a low on the monthly, and then move away from there. So I just want to give you an idea how these cycles work, how to look at them together, and they are very useful for giving you the end of these longer term monthly swings. These cycles are generally connected to planets as a basis. There are some that are pure number cycles, but there are some that are planetary, but they may not work out to be exactly to a planetary cycle count. They may have an additional time factor to make them work, and usually that additional time factor or time, maybe it's better to call that a time count, to be added to the cycle to make it complete, is because there's another astronomical cycle nearby that causes these two different cycles to work in tandem, So you have to add this time factor or time count to make the cycle work. Very difficult to find these things. Takes a lot of work and looking at many examples of them before you can actually get them to work. In this particular case, the 20-year cycle is a two-planet cycle, and you have to think about this in different ways to be able to find these things. To give you an example, if Gann is saying it's going to take a cycle's X amount of years, well, first of all, you got to figure out what is a year. There are different types of years. There are our regular solar lunar calendar year. You could have lunar years. You could have planetary cycle years. For instance, one revolution of Mars could be considered a Mars year. So you have to take all of those different things into account when you are looking for these cycles to be able to find out what is the right connection to get these to work. In this case, the 20-year cycle, it does involve the planet Mars. So there's a hint that will help you to go forward and locate that cycle.